I did 2 ridiculously embarrassing things last week, and I want to share them with you. So what's on my mind is preparedness. The tool trailer right now, the name of the game is preparedness. Switching from renovation to construction season, you go through, you make sure you have what you need, and what you need is where you thought you put it. I drove all the way out to a job site last week with no fuel in the truck. Enough to get out, not enough to get back. Well, I'll tell you, guy's got to swallow his pride at a time like that, and luckily, the majority of people in this world are wonderful people, and where I was at was no exception. They didn't even bat an eye, generously gave me some fuel so I could return back home and continue on about my business. But can you imagine that? Now, preparedness comes from, or preparing comes from, getting yourself ready for events that are out of the ordinary. You always see people prepping for different things, world events, and on and on and on. But what about the day-to-day, the preparedness of day-to-day? And that's kind of what took me down. I got out of a normal routine, and instead of just going to the site, I got materials and I did this. Maybe I got a little flustered in between, didn't have a list, was going off memory, unprepared, which led to failure. Now, it bothered me because, as a guy that's responsible for things, you got a household to lead and that sort of thing, preparedness is important. And it kind of slips away, and, you see a lot of people are unprepared and you don't see yourself in that light. Well, then a simple thing such as running out of fuel happens. You go, what the heck is going on? Well, I let my systems fail. Usually there's a spare fuel can in the trailer or the truck, especially when I'm working a ways out of town, back and forth, because there's no facilities to help you out if you need, or maybe you cross paths with somebody that needs help from you. Well, you're ready to go. I let that all down. Ran out of fuel. Well, lucky to have good people to help you out. So round 2 goes, the very next day, actually, I didn't learn from my mistakes, because when you start to make mistakes, they usually happen in a pattern. And if you don't correct the pattern, well, down the rabbit hole you go. Left the house, go to town here, see the name of the game? Town. If I can avoid it, I do. Going to get more materials. Stop A, B, C, D. Well, reflecting back, I'll make the wise choice for the sake of saving time. Cutting corners never gets you anywhere. I'm not going to make my lunch. I'm going to pick up a lunch. Because, treat yourself. It's right near where you got to stop anyways. Grab yourself a bite to eat. Well, it's not part of my regular pattern. It's not part of my routine. I didn't have a list. I didn't have a checklist. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't prepared. And I drove right on past. Went all the way out to the job site, and a vessel such as this requires fuel throughout the day. Again, reliant on the generosity of others to help me out of a bind. And they certainly did. More than came through. It turned out to be a fantastic day. Now, I was beet red embarrassed, but they paid it no mind because, good people are good people. It got me to thinking, though, about the preparedness. So I'm going through the trailer and say, there's something important in the trailer, tool. We have 2. You got a plan, right? So it's great to have the plan, but how do you make sure that the plan is engaged? And I'm putting a lot of thought in as we move into, new projects and new adventures. What can I do to kind of make sure that the preparedness stays intact and I'm consistently making efforts to improve? Well, I started thinking, when I am interacting with somebody I've never met before, doing a task I've never done before, what is it that kind of rolls through? What am I thinking? Well, say you meet somebody and you look in this fella and you go, hey, how's it going? You shake hands. Howdy do. Well, you notice things about people. You look at this gentleman, you go, he's wearing a pair of boots. I can respect that. I like to wear boots when I leave the house. Doesn't really matter where we're going. I don't really believe in leaving the house in, flip-flops or Crocs or wearing your pajamas because you're leaving the house with your family or whatever the case might be. Well, your responsibility is to be prepared in case something happens. I'm not changing a flat tire on the side of the road in a pair of flip-flops. Not going to happen. All right, well, these are simple. I'm starting to pick up traction. Okay, well, you've got the logic there, buddy, behind you. You didn't put it in action when you ran out of fuel and forgot your lunch, but at least it's there. Okay, we're gaining traction. Oh, and then you notice, oh, look at that. Oh, he's got a pocket knife. He's carrying a pocket knife. All right, well, I can get on board with that. He's got the pocket knife going. Well, why is the pocket knife important? Well, I try to think of it this way. You know, say you got a daughter and she's looking to date somebody, and this young man shows up and, well, he doesn't have a pocket knife, not carrying a pocket knife. Well, that doesn't seem like a big deal to a lot of folks, but to me, I go, well, that seems a bit out of the ordinary, because I view that as a litmus test of preparedness. You got the pocket knife on you, maybe carrying a Leatherman. Even better, because when you're in a tight spot or a jam, you need a simple tool, well, you're going to be ready to go. I mean, it's just the same as putting boots on instead of flip-flops. You got your pocket knife. So I'll go, wait. So what I'm thinking of doing is boiling it down to just that. I carry this knife every day. It is an extreme rarity that I will forget a pocket knife. Usually it comes on the day that I switch pants. That's the only time it's going to snag me. And a little side note to what the main subject is here, you don't have to change your work pants too often. You know, if you're not getting at least a week out of them pants, you know, depending on what you're doing, well, you're being too hard on your wife. You're wearing the wash machine out. So rarely does the knife even leave my pocket, so I don't have to remember it. I just need to put the pants back on. So I thought, well, why don't you think about that? When you grab the knife to put it in your pocket, or you're doing up the buckle on your belt, putting your pants on, you pat your pocket to make sure that knife's there. Start running through the checklist for the day. Did I get the fuel? Not only did I get the fuel, I'm going to be thinking 2 days in advance. The truck was at a half a tank. I'm going to get the fuel. I'm going to get the fuel before we even get close to the scenario where I'm going to be unprepared. I feel there's a lot of people that run around with a whole higher degree of unpreparedness. And I don't mean just for bad events. I just mean unpreparedness in general. What's for dinner? Who's picking the kids up? Did I remember to unplug my curling iron? These simple thoughts. It all stems from a pattern of unpreparedness. Because if you're prepared, then you're dialed in. You have a lower degree of stress. You have a better quality of life. When I ran out of fuel and forgot my lunch, my stress went up. And I am typically a zero stress kind of guy. I don't believe in stress. I don't need it in my life. The preparedness mitigates that. The holding the pocket knife, running through the checklist. What did I do? Hopefully eliminates forgetfulness, increases my preparedness. Generally just make sure that I don't forget shit that I want to make sure that I have. And hopefully leads to a better quality of life. That's kind of what's on my mind. That's where I'm ahead with that. I wanted to base it off of a simple item that I view as an item of preparedness. Something that I want to meet and relate to other gentlemen that are of the same mindset. You carrying a pocket knife? I'm carrying a pocket knife. We're already on the right page together. So using it as a kickoff point to improve for you know, the projects we're heading into, to make sure, using it as my checklist. I'm also a huge fan of notebooks. Patting one that I don't have. I got a pencil though. I love notebooks. Keeping a checklist, so I'm going to keep it simple. Any system that is simple is better off to be, is a lot more likely to be successful. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. So what's my point? Well, I think my point was maybe I just talk to you about it to make sure that I don't do something dumb this coming week, like run out of gas or forget my lunch. Anyways, I don't know what the next adventure is going to be, but there's certainly going to be an adventure. We'll catch you later.